You hit the gym, follow the plan perfectly, and end up staring at the wall completely wiped out, wondering why the results aren't matching your effort. The math isn't adding up, because almost all the fitness and nutrition advice you see online was built for men. Women are essentially running on a completely different biological operating system. We have menstrual cycles, constant hormonal fluctuations, and a distinct muscle fiber composition. Yet the default instruction from the fitness industry is to train like a smaller man. Take a look at this comparison table. On the left is the standard advice heavily marketed to everyone: 2.5-minute rests, machine circuits, and freezing cold ice baths. Machines lock your limbs into fixed paths designed for male skeletal frames, often forcing joints into unnatural angles. Because the machine does the balancing for you, your stabilizing muscles never learn to support your weight, which increases the risk of a strain the moment you try to lift something in the real world. The same mechanical failure applies to the core. Women naturally have a lower center of gravity. Grinding through 100 crunches a day fails to provide the core stability you actually need, because the body requires full, multi-joint support, not just isolated contraction. Hitting a plateau isn't a failure of your willpower. It is the direct result of spending maximum physical effort on a framework that was never meant for your body. Let's look at how to adjust your training, starting with rest. Women are naturally more fatigue-resistant because our muscle fibers recover much quicker than men's. This chart breaks down the time savings. For the same volume, a man needs 2 minutes and 30 seconds of rest. But if a woman cuts that to 1 minute 30, she gets the exact same gains, instantly shrinking her gym time. Reclaiming that time means changing what you do in those shorter sessions. You have to abandon the fixed machines and pick up heavy free weights, like dumbbells and barbells, even though the learning curve is steeper. This quadrant chart maps out the actual return on investment for your physical effort. Notice where 100 crunches sits: high effort, low impact. But heavy deadlifts are down here in the optimal zone: low rep, high impact. Because of a woman's lower center of gravity, your core actually needs compound movements like heavy squats and deadlifts. Using multiple joints at once forces the abdominals to work intensely just to keep your body stable under the heavy load. The trade-off is straightforward. You must endure higher cardiovascular exertion and spend time mastering free weight mechanics. In return, you develop a body that moves efficiently outside the gym, paired with a 30% reduction in total training time. But you can't just dial in a routine and keep it forever. Your training modalities have to shift in response to two moving targets: daily hormones and biological aging. This flowchart shows the exact pivot point in a training timeline. In your 20s and 30s, the focus is high rep ranges to build muscle. But as you hit peri and post-menopause, you must pivot to the right branch: low reps and heavy weights. After 35, high-rep sets no longer provide the intense nervous system feedback required to maintain lean tissue. Lifting heavier weights forces the brain to recruit more motor units, which protects both your bone density and the cognitive pathways linked to muscle coordination. Beyond age is your monthly cycle. The first half, the follicular phase, is your low hormone window, the peak time for high-intensity training. But in the second half, the luteal phase, hormones rise, so you must decrease your intensity. Syncing to this cycle requires attention, because not every woman ovulates every month. You still bleed regardless, meaning those expected hormonal shifts aren't always guaranteed. Achieving peak efficiency requires a strict discipline. You have to actively track your physical data, and you have to be willing to pull back your intensity even on days you planned for a hard workout. This scorecard compares the 0-degree ice bath. For men, extreme cold triggers beneficial shivering. But for women, 0 degrees causes the vascular system to lock up. The biological sweet spot for a female body is 15 degrees Celsius to get the exact same adaptation. Heat exposure works on an inverse timeline. In a sauna, women's blood vessels dilate to spread heat before sweating ever starts. You need to sit for at least 20 minutes to reach the same level of stress and recovery that men hit almost immediately. That precision extends to supplementation. Women naturally hold 20 to 30% less creatine in their muscle stores compared to men, making regular supplementation a biological requirement to fill the gap. Timing your intake is just as critical. This diagram tracks an enzyme called hepcidin, which spikes directly following a workout. That spike creates a barrier that literally deflects incoming iron molecules, making absorption impossible right after you train. Physiological adaptation means leaving behind the bragging rights of freezing 0-degree water and adhering to rigid scheduling, taking iron at night away from gym sessions. You don't need to apply all of these rules simultaneously. You just need to prioritize based on your specific life constraints. This audience mapping matrix splits the strategies into 3 distinct paths: the time-poor, the 35-plus transition, and the optimizer. For the time-poor professional, your primary actions are to restrict your rest intervals to 1 minute and 30 seconds and utilize 30-second HIIT bursts to minimize your total gym duration. If you are in the 35-plus transition, your goal is preserving the central nervous system. You must abandon the machines and move entirely to heavy, low-rep barbell mechanics. For the biohacking optimizer, the focus shifts to precision control, implementing strict 15-degree cold plunges and rigorous cycle syncing to catch those low hormone peak windows. The standard settings in the fitness industry remain calibrated for a completely different biological machine. Following them blindly leads straight to a plateau. By trading comfortable routines and generic metrics for protocols that actually align with your biology, you gain back your time and see your physical output finally translate into measurable strength and metabolic resilience.